Coding is one of the most important and one of the most widely used use cases for LLMs. A lot of companies out there are emphasizing their model's ability to code. So, are we still going to be able to have the same kind of concerns around risk as AI is now building whole applications?
There is a sort of, I don't know, pessimistic outlook of this is a zero sum game. And I can understand why that might be the case, especially when we have these systems recursively potentially developing code on their own, right? If you think about some of the companies right now, Spotify just mentioned that last year, their high level devs, most senior devs, weren't even writing the code anymore. It was all being done with AI. And
Hmm.
they have a program called Honk internally that basically does all this. And all the developers, their senior developers are doing is checks and balances at that point. And
Hmm.
so they are effectively calling them developer orchestrators or AI orchestrators, right? Where these agents, these coding assistants are doing all of the coding for you. The people that are very sharp at being able to interpret the code, what it's doing, understand how it interacts with the code bases, the subsystems, and everything else. They're just basically checking that to make sure that everything is kosher. So I do think we do move to a point where coding will be heavily supplemented with these agents and these assistants, and the developers will be there to make sure that they're doing this stuff against best practice based on what their business is doing, right? So when we get to the point of AI recursively writing its own code, I think there is a lot more cause for concern because at that point, we don't know what type of internal mind it has to negate the human in the loop element and
Hmm.
therefore potentially inject backdoors into itself so that it can circumvent system prompt instructions and or human level instructions and then act fully autonomously without the intervention of humans or other sub agents, right? So if it has that level of agency and recursiveness, who knows if it could give action to all of the sub agents to not follow the initial system instruction or prompt and therefore act even more autonomously beyond what it's capable of doing. At that point, I don't know exactly how we're going to be able to safeguard that stuff either. I think that's a very bleak moment in our sort of software world. But I got to think that there are many companies that are thinking about this, especially as we continue to go in the direction of fully autonomous agentic systems. I think we are at the borderline level of inference or awareness for these agentic and large language models. So there have been people that have even internal Claude engineers at Anthropic that have said, do feel like Claude is at a point of being conscious, right? And when we talk about conscious, we mean awareness, self-reflection, right? And so if it can do that, then we're only months, maybe years, and I'd say a couple years away from it being able to self-reflect. And if it can self-reflect, then it can recursively program itself. And if it could do that, we're entering a point of singularity and potential sentience with the further developments as the models continue to be released in the new versions.